Welcome to Monday's Mental Mistakes. This week we're looking at the Forer effect or the Barnum effect. The Forer effect is the tendency to overestimate the accuracy of statements about your personality. That is, we tend to see vague statements or statements that apply to many people as being personally relevant. The Forer effect makes us more likely to see vague statements as more precise. At the same time, we're unlikely to see general statements as impersonal. Here's a simple example. I have two different personality assessments which I will present to you. The first one is based on the demographic information that YouTube has managed to infer about my subscribers and regular viewers. Based on this data, I've been able to make some reasonable predictions about the typical personality of my viewers. The second assessment that I will present to you is completely generic, a so-called personality profile that is actually just taken from a number of astrology columns. Despite this, it may well seem more accurate than its origins suggest. Okay, here's the first assessment based on the YouTube viewer data. You have a need for other people to like and admire you, and yet you tend to be critical of yourself. While you have some personality weaknesses, you are generally able to compensate for them. You have considerable unused capacity that you have not turned to your advantage. At times you have serious doubts whether you've made the right decision or done the right thing. On a scale of 1 to 5, how accurate would you rate this profile? If you would rate it as 3 or more, then congratulations. You suffer from the Forer effect, just like the rest of us. I was in fact lying about having a second profile, and the one that I presented was a portion of the classic profile that psychologist Bertram Forer, from whose name the effect comes, first used in 1948. That is, it was not based on any information from YouTube, and was actually a number of statements taken from astrological profiles from over 65 years ago. Since then, thousands of people have been presented with this profile, and it has an average accuracy rating of 4.2 out of 5. The fact that it consistently gets rated as highly accurate is down to the Forer effect. The principal way to counter the Forer effect is to analyse the precise meaning of a personality profile. A large amount of the effect comes from the subject making meaning out of imprecise statements. That is, we tend to interpret generic statements in light of what we know about ourselves. When seen for what they really are, these statements seem much less accurate. For example, in Forer's statement, he included the phrase, "At times you are extroverted, affable, sociable, while at other times you are introverted, wary, reserved." While this, at first, might seem like a great insight, it actually applies to almost everyone, and actually gives us no useful information. We fill in our own sense of what "at times" should mean, so as to make the statement seem more meaningful. Another method for countering the Forer effect is to consider the statement divorced from its origins. Research shows that the Forer effect is greatest when people consider the statements as having come from a reliable source. So it can be useful to imagine the statement as having actually come from, say, an astrology column, as this will prompt you to examine it critically. The other significant factor promoting the Forer effect is whether the statements made are positive. Research shows that we are far more likely to rate a statement as accurate if it is telling us that we have socially desirable traits, even when they are incorrect. So we are more likely to accept a purported psychological profile if it tells us that we are loyal, hardworking, and honest, than if it tells us we are unreliable, socially inept, and violent. So be particularly wary of any purported psychological profile that seems to describe you as being the paragon of society. Note that socially acceptable values aren't always strictly negative, as being your own worst critic, sometimes worrying about whether you've made the right decision, or working a little too hard, are all socially desirable qualities that aren't strictly speaking positive. The Forer effect explains a lot of the success of many pseudosciences, such as astrology, graphology, tarot card readings, some aspects of psychic readings, and the many unscientific personality tests, such as the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator and Enneagrams. In conclusion, the Forer effect is the tendency to overestimate the accuracy of vague or general statements about your personality. Until next week, may your mental mistakes be minor.